As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH-LP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Good morning. How are you, Marisol?
Good morning, Barbara. How are you?
I'm fine. And for the listeners out there, Tom Ficklin has allowed me to host another show, which I'm so appreciative of. Thank you, Tom, for any opportunities that I can educate our communities. And so Marisol, Marisol, you can just say a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Marisol Garcia. I'm a college to career fellow at Yale Prison Education Initiative. I'm also the new executive director at Prison and Public Policy. I'm a member of Connecticut Stop Solitary Connecticut and an avid advocate for criminal justice reform and healthcare.
Hi. And my name is Barbara Fair, and I'm also a member of Stop Solitary Connecticut. Most people already know I've been doing this work for decades. It's almost been like a lifetime of fighting for social justice in Connecticut. And so we're going to get right into the program to make the best use of our time. So the first thing on our agenda to be discussed, and today's thing is going to be all about the politics that go on. You know, I have said to many of the people in our communities, you know, you have to get involved with politics, and people will proudly say, "Oh, I don't get involved with politics," and I don't understand that, because I try to explain to them politics is running our whole life. They don't know the importance of stepping up, coming to a meeting, saying I oppose what you're getting ready to do in our community, or I support what you're doing. And they don't realize the importance with legislators of having the community support whatever it is they're trying to do to benefit us. So I always have this question, and I'm not going to take much time on it because it's a question I've asked myself for decades. I still don't have an answer. Is why is it our people do not step up, get involved in politics, because politics is running just about everything that you are allowed and not allowed to do in your life. I have tried community meetings. I try to do them in the communities on bus lines. I consider that for transportation. I always have food, so people can always have a nice meal. I do a lot of prizes and raffles and try to have a lot of fun doing these things. And it just seems like no matter what I do, it's hard to get our community out. So that has been the number one frustration in doing this work all these years. But, I've asked so many people, what do you think we need to do next? And I just don't know. So Marisol, just quickly, can you give me any kind of thoughts that you may have on why we can't get our people to get involved in the politics that are running their lives?
I think that can be hit on a couple of different ways. I think those who are justice impacted, I think once they leave the system, they become fearful of, rocking the boat. I think we've, as a community and as a society, have made it become like fear mongering. I think they have this false narrative and false belief that if they get involved in politics, that corrections or the criminal justice system and whatever branch or arm it is, they think that it could impact their life, the police, probation, parole, because, they feel that if you bring attention to yourself, they tell you this when you're in prison, don't bring attention to yourself, don't congregate, don't do these things, because when you talk to people and you try to have, community conversations, they look at that as trying to create insurgency. So they've been held down for so long and told for so long, you do these things. These are the things that are going to screw up your life. Staff will screw up your life however they can. This message carries into the community once people are come home. And I think that fear stays with people, the fear of the police, the distrust. I think fear of rocking the boat, and this is exactly the message that gets told time and time again to our community, whether it's the Black, the Latinos, it doesn't really matter. Anybody who's in
Mhm.
our community, anybody who is low income, that is where the message is. The minute you guys start talking, the minute you start getting together and acting up, you're going to pay for it. So I
Yeah,
think it becomes fear based.
yeah. And that really makes sense, with, like you said, justice impacted people. Um, but that still leaves the question, why is it that families of justice impacted people do not speak up? Why isn't parents of children that are being taken from their homes many times, or expelled from school, or end up in the system? Why aren't those parents being in the front line of this defense to protect their loved ones? Do you have anything for that?
I think really what that I hate labeling our community, but sometimes I think it's two things, two prongs that carry it: laziness and fear, or lack of education. I think people sometimes don't know how to get started. They expect, someone like you, for example, you've carried this movement on your shoulder for a very long time. You ask the byword in criminal justice for families and anybody, Barbara Fair is the first words out of their mouth. It rolls off the tongue very easily. They know you constantly are battling for them. However, I think it's one of these things where people need to understand, like what you exhibited at the Capitol less than a couple of weeks ago at the nomination hearing. You asked for people to come out and support. Only a handful of people, not less than one hand, showed
Mhm.
up, and that brought enough of a hesitancy to the commission, to the nominations people, to say, "Huh, maybe we shouldn't do this." This community outcry is a thing. I think people don't recognize that the we are a 2 million strong community nationwide. If we stood together and actually made, communicated and worked together, they can't hold us back as second class citizens. That
Mhm.
fear, we have enough power in the community in numbers, and I believe in resources that we can make it work. I just think people either don't know, are scared, or afraid. Those are pretty much the only two things that I can say to you. I think people sometimes are afraid to help themselves. They
Mhm.
expect people like you or other people to do the work and not necessarily stand up for what they need. They
Right.
expect, and I think it's sad that I think criminal justice or any type of circumstance, our society has created this atmosphere that people don't know how to help themselves sometimes. Even
Mhm.
if the resources are there, the people are there, the leaders are there, I think they're not sure. Like when it's kind of like you give someone tools, they look at them and they're not sure how to use them. So I think
Yeah.
again,
Mhm.
community education, and we just got to keep going.
Yeah. And that's what I do. I just keep going and keep trying to come up with other ways that I think something else I need to do. But sometimes I think it's pretty much like you say. It's like people want to see change, but they don't want to do the work. They depend on someone else to do the work, which overwhelms my life because
Mhm.
I many times I've wanted to step back on this work, and I'm trying to push younger people to get involved, but they don't have the commitment to do this work, and it's long term work. It's not something that you're going to make a change in a week or a month or maybe even a year. And some of that, maybe it's that quick gratification that it
Mhm.
keeps them from getting involved, or they look at the history. Well, this has been like this forever, and this is the way it's always going to be. That kind of attitude.
Mhm.
I just wish people knew the power that they have, because, like you just said, at that hearing, that woman was convinced she was going to be confirmed.
Mhm.
It was something that we really didn't want. And I found out at the last minute, I got about 4 or 5 people to come up there. But when they listened to this 4 or 5 people, they said, hold up, let's think about this then. Because, now that we're listening to the public, the people who are going to be most impacted, maybe we need to take to consider our votes. And
Mhm.
so this wasn't the topic right now, but now that we're talking about it, we can talk about how that vote went. And it was for the obs position, which
Mhm.
for people who don't know, is a person who's going to go inside the prisons. They're going to inspect the prisons. They're going to talk to everyone in there, try to get their input on what's going on. They're going to sit down with the commissioner, Department of Corrections, look at some of their policies and directives and see if there's some things, changes that need to be made. And so this is someone who definitely has to be connected with the community, not afraid to go into prisons, not afraid of the people that are inside, and truly, truly committed to doing this for the people, supporting the people, not the state, it's the incarcerated people and their families. And so this woman, the governor chose, there was 3 names that went to the governor. Myself was one of them, of course. And then there was an attorney that sues DOC a lot. And this one woman that nobody knows. And so that's who he chose, this nobody. And so, you know, we were very upset about him skipping over the first 2 choices and going to somebody that none of us as activists for decades have ever even seen, let alone expect her to be dedicated to incarcerated people. She's a public defender, and one of the people who showed up to testify when the legislators thought her being a public defender was a good thing, he said it's not a good thing for those people on the inside because many of the people on the inside are there because of the services of a public defender. So, you know, some of the legislators listened to us and they voted no to confirm her. And since then, there's some talk that, you know, someone made some steps to some of the people who voted to ask them to change their vote. One person did change her vote and voted to confirm her, but it's a tie, so she still hasn't been confirmed. It has to go through the House and the Senate and all that stuff. So that's coming up next. I know Marisol, which I failed to mention, is one of the people on the advisory committee who helped make the selection. And now they're going to have a public meeting at 1:30. Marisol can tell you how to get on that Zoom. And we're going to voice our displeasure and concerns about the process because the governor has clearly has no respect for the process. He has no respect for what the people in the community wanted because none of them really chose her. And so that's where we are now. So, but the journey continues. We haven't given up. So Marisol, can you tell them how people in the community can get on that link to watch that meeting? And if they don't get to see it today, how can they look at it in the future?
So if you go onto the Connecticut Judiciary Committee, you're able to actually look live when the meeting is actually happening today. And if not, you'd be able to look for it on the YouTube channel when the CGA is actually meeting for the judiciary. And you'll be able to see it live today, or if you're not able to see it this afternoon, you're able to access it after the fact.
Okay. Can you explain in basic steps for people who don't probably never ever been on the Connecticut General Assembly website? Give them steps to getting to see this meeting.
So if you
because we assume because we do this all the time that people know this, but you know, people when you say CGA, what's that? So
the Connecticut General Assembly. So like if you Google it and you get on, you can see it's the first hit that comes up on Google. So it's the Connecticut General Assembly. You search for you're able to watch live stream on it. On the right-hand side, it's right after the picture of the Capitol. It's on the YouTube stream. You click on that, and it will show you exactly for the Judiciary Committee. If you click on that, it will exactly show you, it'll come up exactly then. So you Google the Connecticut General Assembly, right next to the right-hand side, there it's where it says YouTube live stream. Click on that, and it will be the Judiciary. That's exactly what you stream for live stream today. Or if you want to see it after the fact, if you do not have time, you're able to see it then.
So is this under Judiciary or is it under Correction Advisory?
No, it's under the Judiciary Committee.
Okay. See, I wasn't even aware of that because I went to Connecticut Advisory to find, I looked on the calendar to see that they were having it. Okay, so people know how to get on and watch it live this afternoon at 1:30, or they can go on YouTube in the future and go on the Judiciary Committee meeting and come up with, click on the date, and they can get to see it in the future. But hoping people will show up because we want the public to be a part of what is going on as far as getting an ombuds person in the state of Connecticut. We had one years and years ago, and it was a person who worked under Department of Corrections. And so you talk to the people who were in prison at the time, they said the person was absolutely useless. And so that's why when Stop Solitary put together the language in their proposal, it was someone who's going to be completely independent of Department of Corrections. And so we feel that people will trust someone who is not connected with Department of Corrections, and that's why we did it in that way. So we need people to be involved in the process. If you think this person is a person that we should be supporting, then by all means, when they have a hearing, which we'll let you know when that comes up, show up and say we support. If you don't, then show up and say you don't support and why you don't support that person, being the person who's going to take care of incarcerated people. So I'm going to move away from that and go on to something that's happening a little closer to home in New Haven. Alders have voted to consider bringing red light cameras into the city of New Haven. New Haven is going to be the first city in the state of Connecticut to have those red light cameras. One might ask, why New Haven out of this big state? Maybe because New Haven has the people who are the most quiet about anything that goes on in their city. But people need to know that red light cameras are going to be marketed as we're trying to reduce automobile deaths in New Haven. And the reality is, when the mayor submitted this proposal to the alders, he gave 19 locations where they're going to consider putting these red light cameras. And he said that 11 are going to be red light cameras and 8 are going to be used for speed safety cameras. So there's going to be all these cameras around the city of New Haven. Personally, there's so many cameras around New Haven already. They were marketed then to reduce the crime. And I haven't heard anyway, of a red light camera solving any criminal activity in New Haven. But, they market it to the people like this. The people go with it, and they need to know what is really behind it. What is really behind red light cameras across this nation is a revenue stream. Now, here's some fact sheets about red light cameras, and this was prepared by the National Motorist Association. It says ticket cameras do not improve safety. There's no credible witness to the alleged offense. When they say that, they mean if a red light picks up, all they take a picture of is the license plate. They don't take a picture of who's driving the car, any of that. So there's nobody who can certify that the person driving the car is the owner of the car. The ticket is going to go to the owner of the car. Now, we know how many car thefts go on a regular basis. So somebody could be driving a stolen car, run through a red light, and that person who owns that car will have no defense because they don't take a picture of the driver, just take a picture of the license plate. It could be a funeral going on. So a lot of people are going to be going through red lights. There's no place to go to say, look, I was at a funeral at the time. This is why my car went through a red light. There's just none of that. They're not adequately notified, according to these fact sheets. They said that what they do is they send out a ticket, first class mail. There's no guarantee that the accused motorist will even receive the ticket, let alone understand and how to respond. The driver of the vehicle is not positively identified. Ticket recipients are not notified quickly. There may be weeks after going through a red light that they'll even get any a ticket saying that this is what you did. We don't know how much the tickets are going to cost. The cameras do not prevent most intersection accidents. As a matter of fact, studies have shown that what they actually have done is cause more rear end accidents because people are trying to not go through a red light. They stop, and then there's people, rear end accidents. So they actually increase accidents. And they said there's better alternatives to cameras, like all of the especially in New Haven, where, you know, where the police occupation, they have enough police officers if people are running lights to take care of that. But if they have the cameras, then they don't use the police officers for that. So I have to ask the question, well, why do we need so many police if you're going to have cameras all over to solve crimes, cameras to solve traffic accidents? Like, what are we getting police for then? Okay, and then they said ticket camera systems are designed to inconvenience under disguise of protecting motorist privacy. The court or private contractor, that's who's going to be benefiting from this, sends the ticket out and they refuse to include a copy of the photo of the accused vehicle owner. And they say that dangerous drivers' pictures don't stop them. Ticket cameras do not apprehend seriously impaired, reckless, or otherwise dangerous drivers or get them off the road. So it's just another way to make money. And I'll give you another example of what we're doing in this state. Many states have actually, they've had the red light cameras. They realize all the problems that come with it, and they actually have discontinued its use. In Texas, 2019, Texas banned the red light cameras, and 7 other states have banned them: Maine, Mississippi, Montana, New Hampshire, South Carolina, South Dakota, West Virginia, and others have statutes prohibiting them. So why are we in 2024 bringing up something that other states have used and say it's so problematic that we're banning them? Why are we coming up with that? Again, behind the scene, behind this marketing that this is about your safety, is how much money could be made. Now, let me quickly tell you about another thing that we have in Connecticut, marketed for, you know, our safety: license plate scanners. We have, the state police now have license plate scanners, and they reported in 1 week on the Merritt Turnpike, they made 170 stops, 150 tickets were given out, and they were able to collect $8,000 in fines. Those scanners can tell if someone has an active warrant, outstanding warrant. It can say if the car was registration expired, and it can also see if people don't have insurance. So you can see $8,000 revenue in 1 week. This is why we are having these things in our community, and people need to understand that. Now, there will be a hearing. People must go and find out when that hearing is. I can't look it up for you. You have to find out when the alders will be voting on it, because they can't do anything without the alders voting. And several alders, including the esteemed Tom Ficklin, have voted against that. That's because these people can see through the smoke and mirrors. Many others don't. So we have to make sure the people in the community are at that aldermanic meeting, and we have to make sure that they make a difference. Because I've also seen where people have flooded the alders meeting, and yet the alders did what they wanted to do. And so when we see those kind of things happening, then we know we need to get those alders out of place. We have to vote to get them out of place. If they don't listen to the people, they're not representing the people, then they need to be out of that office. So I hope people will find out when that meeting will be, when the alders get to say, yes, we're bringing these cameras here. Okay? And I'll stop on that. Next, go ahead, sorry.
No, what you've just said is everything absolutely right. But I think what people need to remember is that bringing these things, these cameras and these, I don't want to call them useless waste of state money, but they're geared toward impacting BIPOC communities of color, because I would love to see the numbers and, you know, the data off that report alone. How many people of color were stopped? Well, how does that impact our community? And I think if people don't recognize that and see that, like, it's almost like when people are in corrections, they spend money needlessly, that the reality is this money was allotted for it in budgeting. So they do this. Now, if you told me that $8,000, they were going to use that money to fund a social service house or a program, because we all know that all the programs in Connecticut, due to the budget, are suffering very much, even though our rainy day fund is beyond capacity. So if they said that they were using this money for a better purpose, or it was being, at least part of it was, then maybe we can have that conversation. Like, okay, maybe, but all I see is I'm hearing you saying 8 grand went to them in revenue, but where is it going? Who's it impacting? Who's benefiting from this money? Or is this money just going into the general fund? And guess what? We never see it again.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And of course, part of that money is the people who are going to provide the service. That's why they provide the service. It's a revenue stream for them. So part of that money goes to them. Part will probably come to the city. And then the other part, we don't know where it's going. But it's the way they market stuff to us, like we're idiots and can't see that this is just another way for you guys to make money for whatever you want money for. It's not about our safety, because the research has already shown that automobile deaths have declined in the last couple of years. So if it was really about increasing safety, it seemed like you would have done it before, but now they're decreasing, and now you decide to bring them here. And of course, everybody's excited, because I'm sure the police department will get a part of that money too. So, you know, they're excited that it's coming, and they don't have to do as much work, because now they have the red light cameras out there scanning everybody's plates and taking photos and grabbing up money, and people, there's no way to dispute anything. So they get your license plate, you're paying that fine, even if your car was a stolen a person stole your car and was driving and running through red lights. So it's like the things that they do in politics. That's why I think people need to get involved. The things that they do in politics and get away with is unbelievable.
That's perfect for your next segue about the older people, that they need to go to these meetings, because that right there is the exact reason. Talk about the older people.
Yep. So the alders have voted, and this is what Tom Ficklin voted against. Sorry, not the red light cameras. The alders have voted to allow people who don't live in New Haven to take on leadership positions. I mean, a lot of them already have them, but now they're making it legal for them to do that. So what I'm seeing now is a city that's already primarily led and governed and occupied by people that don't live in New Haven. Now you're making it okay for people from other cities and other towns to come into New Haven and take on leadership roles, as though we don't have any people in New Haven who can lead. I mean, are we all idiots in New Haven? So you have to go outside of New Haven to run the city of New Haven? Thank you, Tom Ficklin, for your vote against that. But as I said, if the community doesn't stand with people like Tom Ficklin, then again, we'll have all these people from out of town coming in here taking jobs that people in New Haven could clearly do themselves, but they choose to have other people running the city of New Haven. Now, how many people do you think from New Haven are going to run government in Branford and Milford and, you know, Guilford and Madison? How many people do you think from New Haven are going to run their government? Zero.
Zero.
Right. Again, people in New Haven, you gotta speak up, because if you don't, then you get what you get. And no need to complain. If you don't show up, then shut up, as far as I'm concerned. And that's a little, maybe I shouldn't say that, but you know, less from the gallery of people that don't do anything but complain. Okay, so let's move on. Social equity grant, which was allowed, Stop Solitaire was allowed a grant to do a youth program. Now, when I heard that it's Prosperity Foundation is behind it, and I'm so grateful to them. So when they said, you know, we have funding for a youth program, I was super excited, because I know our kids need it more than anyone that I can think of. We've needed it in our schools, in our homes. We have kids that are expelled from school. We have kids going in, being removed from their home, DCF. We have kids who've gone through the incarceration process, been in youth detention centers, all of that. And those are all very traumatic experiences that our kids are facing. So I said, oh my God, I am so grateful to have money, because I'm always trying to do for kids anyway. But I said, now I have funding, I can do more. So I was so excited. I applied for the grant. I was granted some money. So I've been going into the schools. I met with the superintendent. I met with a few other people who were supposed to be really thoroughly engaged in helping our kids. And I reached out to principals. And just so I even reached out to someone in housing authority, like, I have this money, I'm not looking for a job, I have money, I just want to be able to help our kids. And now with the money, I can do more things with them. So I put together this plan, and all I've been doing is reaching out. And I've just been getting to run around. People said they want to work with me, but so far it hasn't gone anywhere. So, I just have to ask the question, who really cares about our kids? I mean, honestly, deeply, compassionately, like I do, because I'm ready to do the work. I just need to be able to have the kids to do it with, but I can't just walk in people's homes. It's better to go through these people, like schools, housing authority, where our kids are, reach out to those leaders and have them, come together. But so far I haven't gotten anywhere. Very discouraging. But I'm not going to give up on our kids, because I know our kids need the service. And the kids that I've worked with know that I really care about them. And so, I'm not going to give up. So, somehow, somewhere, someone's going to come back to me, reach out to me, and they're going to say, Miss Fair, I want to work with you, and let me get you some families to work with. So, and I also want to give my email in case there are families out there who need services for their kids, and maybe I can just work it that way as opposed to trying to go through these institutions that hold our kids. So my email is Barb, B-A-R-B, Fair, F-A-I-R, 848 @gmail.com. So if you know there are families out there in the New Haven area, this program is supposed to benefit people who are impacted by the war on drugs. That's what the social equity grant was about. We know those people are Black and brown in New Haven all across. And so it should be very, very easy for me. It should have been very, very easy for me to have had this youth program up and running. But like I said, I'm not giving up. So if we have to go that route, people reach out, please. If you need services for your kids, I'm here. Your kid is my kid, and they will get the best of care. So I want to move on from that. And reminding you, last month, Ray Boyd from the Yale Law and Justice Center talked about his books for incarcerated people, where people can purchase books, or even not too badly used books to donate to their organization so that they can get books to the people that are incarcerated. I remember years ago, you could just bring books into the institution. They kind of got away from that. Everything has to be about purchasing stuff through them. And so now Ray Boyd has his opportunity to get books in the prison. He works, he doesn't actually work, but he volunteers at Manson Youth. And so those kids could really use books. And so people, if you have books that are not too used, or brand new books, or maybe you just want to make a cash donation, please get in touch with Ray Boyd. I appreciate it so much. Education is our pathway to justice. And his email is Ray, R-A-I Boyd, B-O-Y-D, @yale.edu. And then I'll give you a personal email, and it's R as in rat, A-S, that's RASUNALLAH, Allah, ALLAH 20 @gmail.com. Get those books or those cash donations to Ray Boyd so he can fulfill our goal of educating our youth who are being housed in Manson Youth Institution. Okay. I want to move on to the strip search policy, and just kind of give an update on where we are with that. Okay, our strip search policy, when I say our, I mean Stop Solitaire Connecticut had a strip search policy that we put forth to the Judiciary Committee last year. Really didn't go anywhere. They ended up making it a bill about the Department of Corrections coming up with a report on body scanners. He was supposed to present that January of this year. Here it is, March, and we haven't gotten that report. So now there's a bill that's going forth that says the same kind of thing, just giving him another year to come up with the report on body scan, which is outrageous to me. And it's outrageous that even the legislators can't seem to enforce anything, the law on Department of Corrections, which is why we need independent oversight. And then to not the bill not even talk about the origin, which is how do we stop routine strip searches? And please hear routine, because people say, oh, we need strip searching because all the guns and stuff are coming in, and all the weapons coming in, all the drugs coming in. Again, smoke and mirrors, marketing. If we want to keep drugs out of the system, then we must be strip searching our officers, because we have had through the years, nothing new, through the years, several officers who have been arrested bringing drugs into the system, and yet we don't have a policy strip searching them. So can you please talk to that policy, Marisol, and talk about it in the context of what a strip search actually is? Because people probably think it's just take your clothes off and they pat you down, or whatever thing people may think. But talk about what really happens. And this is why we need to end this, as far as I'm concerned, this disgusting state-sanctioned sexual violence. So Marisol, tell the people about what a strip search actually entails.
So a strip search is when you're literally down to nothing. You know, if you are coming into the facility, whether it's if you're going to court or you're going to a medical appointment outside of the facility, you're made to strip down to nothing, and you are made to, you know, if you're a woman, you know, you're made to lift your breasts, your arms, your hair, you open your mouth. You're told to bend over, spread them, and cough. And some staff will say to you, you know, it's been said in the past, and I know other people can speak to this. I want you to cough and bend over until I can see pink. That is one of the most invasive things that I've been home for almost 5 years. And as someone who has a history of assault, that's something that doesn't, you know, that dehumanizes you already beyond the experience you're going through. And this is something that, let's say you're a pretrial and you're going to court on a daily, weekly basis, or if people are on trial, you're exposed, this happens to you multiple times a day, you know. And even if, you know, it happens when you are even in the court system, even though you are not stripped completely, you're patted down, you know, you're invaded by hands and personal spaces. And I'm not sure if people recognize, whether or not male or female, that for someone who's already traumatized, you know, through past trauma, and even through the experience they're going through now, that's something that sticks with you. And if you have a severe sexual assault, child molestation history, all you're doing is re-traumatizing. And you know, kind of what Barbara, what you were talking about, this is true to form already for the governor and for the commissioner of corrections. You know, he's had this issue beforehand with the healthcare that he bought time on, and we still have yet to see anything definitively come out of that. And this is nothing different. And you're absolutely right, because I would love for someone for a legislator or someone to actually get arrested, put in handcuffs, taken down to the court, and you go through this experience. There is no possibility for you to be able to get access unless a staff member hands you a packet with drugs or with a contraband item. How are you going to get any access to that? You're in shackles and cuffs. You're put with multiple staff members. Like, again, staff access, whether it's a marshal at the courthouse, a court staff member, or a DOC staff member. Like, this isn't, unless someone brought it in, and I'm not saying these circumstances don't happen, but with the frequency that DOC likes to perpetuate this process, like, oh, it happens every day. The only people that come in and out of the DOC system every day is the staff. They get to leave, they get to come home. People who are generally there are shackled up. They're strip searched multiple times a day. And unless you're a genie or, you know, Houdini, that's not really happening. You know, it's not like, hey, let me wave my hand. That process is very invasive. It's very long-term. It's long-term trauma for people. And, you know, unless you've gone through the experience, you'll never really understand that. Like, really, it's the only people who can truly understand is anybody who has been the victim of a sexual assault. or who has been sexually abused as a child or
Yeah.
as even as an adult.
Yeah. One thing that you didn't mention, and I know it's little sensitive, but what about if a woman seems to be on her period during the search? What happens?
You have to take out your sanitary. So first of all, as anyone is aware in DOC, the product availability for feminine products are very limited. You only get a certain amount. They fight you if you are, despite the recent legislation in the last few years that says they are not supposed to limit our amount of pads, tampons, and whatnot, or even toilet paper. There still is a limited supply available because
Wow.
they say that you should buy it off commissary. And again, if anybody knows the wages in DOC, it's 75 cents minimum. Um, like, how are you supposed to buy those things? So if you leave your cell with that on and you go to where, if you're going to court, they expect you to take out your feminine product, still go through this embarrassing circumstance, and they expect you to just pull it together. And heaven forbid if they don't have supplies. Toilet paper is what you're going with.
Wow.
And you have to go through this coming in and leaving, both ways. So even if you're able to get one, and do not bring any supplies with you because you can't, they'll take it away from you.
Mm. Wow. And so I'm glad you gave us a description, because people, they really don't understand how dehumanizing, degrading, humiliating this experience is. And like you said, some people, depending on whether they have to go to court, if there's a mental health crisis, I heard, and you have to go to, go from your cell to mental health, you have to be stripped for that. If you're being put in segregation, which is isolation, you go through that to go through. Are you strip search coming out of segregation also, or is that just going in?
It's going in. They
Mm-hmm.
allow you. It's basically when you first come in and you're first assessed,
Mm-hmm.
you're stripped out of regular uniform. For women, it's the jeans, burgundy shirt, jeans. Anything like that. They take away hair ties, obviously, for the fear of hurting yourself. But they strip you of everything, and then you're put in these yeah, like the scrubs. They're generally red scrubs, dependent on where you are, and you're made to sit in that. And then when there is no showering except on a certain time frame. So imagine if you do have that time of the month as a woman, you can't shower. Like, you can't. There's a certain, I think their shower schedule, let's say for the women's facility, is like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And let's say you're in segregation for 7 days. If you come in on a Tuesday, guess what? You may shower that first day, but then you might get Wednesday, but then you won't get to shower again until Friday.
Wow.
And if you're on that time of, do you understand how difficult that is? And the only thing you have available to you is the sink and what they call a bird bath. And again, no cleaning, no nothing. And you have to use the same towel. They give you this really ratty white, what some wouldn't even use as a floor mat towel that's beyond threadbare, thin. And that's what you have to use, not only to wash up with, dry up with, like, and heaven forbid if that's, that's what you're stuck with. So there's really that's the community standard level of healthcare that we have. And
Yeah. I think people really don't have an idea what goes on behind bars. And that's why you'll hear people, and it just could be people who are just indifferent to the people behind bars, because most of them are Black and brown anyway. And as you know, our state is over 70% white. So a lot of those people never even interact with Black and brown people unless they're coming into our communities to work. And so many of them just indifferent. So they always like to say, oh, well, this is not a hotel. They're getting everything they need. They're getting a place to stay, and they're getting 3 meals, and they even have a weight room to build up their, the stories that come out of prison. And then I talk to people on the inside. Like, for instance, I talked to a young man about why is so much drug use in prison. And he said to me, in order to get through this experience, you have to be emotionally numb. And so that's how they numb themselves, with drugs. And
And
so these are the same people who had to become emotionally numb to go through that prison sentence. Do you think the moment they walk out that door, their humanity's return? No, they're
no.
still walking around emotionally numb,
Mm,
in a dehumanized state, trying to get their lives back together. Nobody ever thinks about that. And the thing about it also is that we can't forget they're doing this to our children as well. It's not just adults they're doing it to our kids. And then when our kids come back into community and they're doing all kind of crazy stuff, all
mm,
we in the community say, we didn't lock them up long enough, we got to put them back in there. Never saying, and this is why I want to work with kids, never asking them, tell me about that experience. Tell me
mhm.
about what happened to you. How can we help you to become normal again? That never
And
happened.
And Barbara, that's not even addressing, you think of these young kids or these people with mental health illnesses that are in the facilities. Imagine they have an acute care unit, the mental health unit, where people are stripped down if they are lucky to their underwear. And
Mm,
if not, I mean, there's these Ferguson gowns that are used or that's what you wear. Imagine there's no like this so you're going through mental health through already a dehumanizing process. You're being asked to it's invasion on top of invasion, dehumanizing experience after on top.
yeah.
Like this is what you walk out. You said it best once at a rally recently. You said you didn't get your son back. You got pieces of your son.
Yeah.
I walked out of prison. I didn't walk out of prison whole. I've been home almost 5 years,
Hmm.
and you can see holes. Maybe not big ones,
Hmm.
but enough
That you
where
can tell.
absolutely,
Yeah. And the
absolutely.
scary thing is the people who come out and they think they're fine. That's
Yep.
just what's scary. At least you, on some level, realize that
Oh,
you were broken and you're putting yourself baken together. It's taken, like you said, 5 years and you still got some pieces to put back together. But the ones that are scary for me are the ones who've been through that experience and come out here and they think they're fine. And
mhm,
then they wonder why it is that they can't re-engage with their family, their
mhm,
spouses, if they have any of that, depending on how long they've been in prison. It's remarkable if they come out and they're able to engage in a healthy relationship with another person after the
mhm,
experience that they've gone through. I've
mhm,
heard people, another young man would tell me about, having food in their cell and saying we can't have too much. And that's another thing I want to always remind people when we say cell, that's a nice way, a clean way of talking about the cages that people are put in.
yep,
And so to have someone say, they're in this cage already, and in the cage, mice are running around, so they have to be careful where they leave their food.
mhm,
When I hear this stuff, I can't even imagine that I'm in a cage, first of all, as a human being. And then in that cage, I have a few belongings and some of it's food, and I have to make sure that I be careful where I put my food because mice are sharing that cell with you. This is all supposed to be okay, but this is our government that sanctions all of this stuff. And like I said, the governor we have living out in Greenwich only looks his nose down at the people who are incarcerated. And we have the hardest time getting him to do anything, enforce anything that makes things life easier for the poor and the disenfranchised in our state. So on that note, I just want to mention that this Wednesday
that's
coming,
right.
at the Capitol, Clean Slate, which is an organization who put together policies to get rid of a lot of records, old criminal records that people have. That organization has to work with the governor. He promised to do so many things, and again, he didn't. So they're having something on Wednesday at the Capitol at 10 o'clock that's going to speak to how they feel about how the governor just disrespects their process, promises to do things and doesn't do them. By the way, I don't know how he got back in office again, but again, we the people don't think it's important to vote. So he's back in there again, doing what he did the last 4 years. And that's completely disengaged from our community. The only time he's engaged in our community is election time. He'll come to the barbecues or let the kids have something to celebrate. He'll come for a photo op. But the reality is, from Greenwich, he can't even see beyond the circumstances of Greenwich. So these things about incarcerated people are not a phase for him.
And
But I'd
Barbara,
like people to know, before I finish, I'd like people to know that they're going to have a bus that'll take people there. It's going to leave Community Baptist Church at 142 Shelton Avenue in New Haven. And that's going to be at 8:45 in the morning. It's going to leave. It has to make one stop before it goes to the Capitol. People that are driving up, it's going to be the event's going to be held on the south side of the Capitol. The Capitol is 210 Capitol Avenue in Hartford. They're encouraging clergy to come because part of it's going to be part of this Easter Palm Sunday kind of tradition. They're asking clergy to show up, and they're going to be washing the feet of people. They invited the governor. I laughed at that when I said they think that this governor is going to wash anybody's feet. They're delusional. But he has been invited to the event. Maybe he'll show up for a photo op, but washing feet, he ain't not doing that. So anyway, I'll give it back to you. So I just wanted to get that information out there for anybody who wants to get on the bus. It's free. It's first serve. They're serving first person basis. I'm getting all messed up here. So, and it's a 30 passenger bus. So if you want to get on, you better make a call to Charlie Delgado. His number is 475-227-9954. Again, 475-227-9954 is the number if you want to get on that bus at 142 Shelton Avenue in New Haven. I'm going to bring it back to you, Marisol.
Just to know, Barbara, I think right now the most important thing is to highlight Friday's event because we got 2 minutes left.
Pardon me?
Friday's event.
Okay, yes. Oh, yeah, the time is going by. So Friday, this Friday coming up from 2 to 6 is Good Friday. So a lot of people are out of work. So I'm hoping that you show up at our event that Stop Solitaire is giving. It's going to be from 2 to 6 at 1253 Whitney Avenue in Hamden. We're going to have a discussion. My question to some of the people around the state who have state positions that are supposed to be protecting our children. My question to them is, who is really protecting our children? We have the child state advocate, we have DCF commissioner, and we have an attorney that's at the child advocate, and we have a young man who's been through the system from DCF through DOC, where we find that a huge part of the people in DCF care end up in DOC care. And so how do we stop that pool that we flow from school to DCF, from DCF to DOC? How do we stop that from happening? And then we're going to have lots, like I said, we'll have refreshments, bingo, musical chairs, prizes, DJ. The first 2 hours, 2 to 4 is our business. And then after that, knowing that this is going to be a heavy discussion when we talk about who's taking care of our kids, we will have from 4 to 6, we will have entertainment and a debriefing of what we're going to hear from these people. And I'm sure for anyone who cares about kids, it's going to be a heavy conversation because I hear from them a lot of the things that are going on in the facilities for our kids. And one of the most recent was a conversation with somebody who's a DOC correctional officer. And by the way, Stop Solitaire, I have a lot of connections with people on the inside. The governor doesn't know it, but I have those conversations. I mean, the commission doesn't know, but I have a lot of conversations there. And the people were saying that we need to really look into what's happening with our kids. And I'm going to have to end here. Thank you so much, Tom Ficklin, again, for allowing us this opportunity, and hope to see some of you guys on Friday from 2 to 6 at 1253 Whitney Avenue, Hamden. Take care.
Barb.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is